Hello guys, welcome back to the channel. So today we will talk about a few things to watch out for when you buy a Hummer H2. These vehicles were produced between 2003 and 2009. So it's been quite a while, more than 13 years since these vehicles were last produced, and so it's getting quite rare to find them, and also because of their age, many maintenance items are becoming due. So if in 2022 you still want to get a Hummer H2, let's talk about a few things that you might want to know. So amongst the things that happen with the H2 that you should watch out for, one of the most common would be leaks inside the vehicle, and that happens with the lights that you see on there on the roof, and also the lights here, the marker lights on the back. So these are known to leak after so many miles, and the reason for the leak is, if you look here on these older ones I took out, you can see how the seal is just falling apart. So these seals, with time, they would deteriorate to the point where they would allow water, rainwater, when you go through a drive-through, that will leak through and go get into the vehicle. So here is still a little bit good, but you can see with age it's no longer as thick as it should be, and that would allow water ingress. The second thing I want to talk about is these vehicles are quite heavy, upwards of 6,000 pounds. So if you jump in there and you drive it like you're driving a Chevy Cruze or Toyota Corolla, where you pin the accelerator to the floor, then you would end up with a broken transmission. So you will see many people rebuilding transmissions, mostly because the drivers were hot rodding it. That's what I think. But you will see many cases where the transmissions would be broken, or you would have gears that are going out. If you happen to have one of these, take it easy when you're accelerating, and the vehicle will treat you good. The third thing I want to talk about, I might lose count here, are the brake lines, which you see right there. Those are well known that after so many miles they will rust out, and something to keep an eye out for if you are buying one of these SUVs. Check the brake lines, check the fuel lines. Those will rust out completely and go out on you when you're driving, so make sure you inspect those. The next thing I want to talk about is the frame. For whatever reason, these frames are not very resilient, as you can see. If you have one from the rust belt, the frames are very prone to rust. So this particular vehicle had been in California for a while before coming out here to this to my area. So I think it held up, not perfectly, but it held up pretty good considering the circumstances. So that's one other thing to watch out for when you're buying these Hummers, especially an older one. It's quite windy out here. I hope it's not going through. One other item I want to talk about is going to be about the interior. So if you're doing your research on this, you pretty much know by now that this is a mixture of parts from the 3/4 ton Chevy trucks and also the 1/2 ton Chevy trucks in the rear. So the interior is pretty much like a Suburban from that era. That's 2003, 2010, 2009, and the same for a Tahoe. So the common issues you would have is when you have heated seats like I do here, the elements inside would break and the heat on the seat won't work anymore. So that's something to be aware of. The other thing is these door panels, they're no longer very available. So if you look for a used one, you might be shocked to find out that just this door panel might go anywhere from $300 to $600, if at all you're lucky enough to find them. The OEM lights, like this. If you find them on eBay, you will be shocked to find out how expensive they are. But most people are changing to aftermarket. But you still have some purists who want their Hummer to look like OEM, like Doug DeMuro would say, like he did in the advertisement brochures. Another thing that breaks very often, you see the gauges, they have some stepper motors behind them. Let me grab my key here and turn it on so you guys can see. So there's some stepper motors that make the gauges move, and those might get bad and you would have faulty readings on your gauges, or some would not even move at all. So that's one other thing to bear in mind. And then as these vehicles age, you would have the buttons wiping out like that, so you don't know exactly what control you have. For me, my stereo works, but the screen here is out. And here I had some of the buttons were not working, so I had to spray some solvent in there to get it to start working once more. The dials actually, they were not working. The next thing, you have the way the interior was put together. So lots of plastic parts, not the greatest quality, so just be careful. You can see over there there's a crack on the dash. It's very hard plastics, so just be careful when you're in the interior. Then there's some clips, 3 clips holding these. You see, when I go to pull out my drink, it's pulling everything out. You can see that. So there's 3 clips there at the bottom that hold this in place. That's a very common failure item. Let's step out. One other thing that fails a lot is the handle for this tailgate. So that fails quite a bit, and the difficulty I'm having right now is getting this pin out. I don't know if it goes upwards or downwards. If I could get that out, then it's an easy repair. But yeah, you have this that fails, and if it fails, it's just quite a hassle to send your finger in there and open up the tailgate. The Hummer came in 3 trim levels. There is the base, there is the luxury, and then there is the adventure. So the adventure has air ride shocks in the back. Springs are standard, and you can have that as an option on the luxury package. The standard came with coil springs in the back, so that fails regularly also. It's a very good system. I love mine. If it fails, it's quite easy to diagnose. It could be the pump, it could be the shocks themselves that have failed, the springs, or let's say the airbags, or it could be a fuse or relay that has failed. So those are the 3 main things. Personally, I would say if nobody has really messed with it, then I would go ahead, diagnose the system and get it working. Otherwise, the easy way out would be to just swap it out and get springs in there. One other thing to consider would be the blend motors for the HVAC system. So the blend motor, what it does is it diverts air either to your legs, your face, the windshield. It's inside, and that is also known to fail on these vehicles. But it's a standard GM part, I think, so you shouldn't have too much trouble getting the replacement. It might be a bit tedious because it's underneath the dash. Another item that fails, usually from water ingress through the roof, would be the wiper motor and controller. So that would cause your wipers not to work, and it's mostly from water damage. And then another item is the Hummers came with these folding mirrors, so you control them from inside. And what would happen is at times people would force them manually to fold, and that would damage the mechanisms inside. I believe from 06 upwards, the folding mirrors have a more robust design. This is a 2003, So 2006 upwards, if you want to get a replacement, that's what you want. And let me show you guys how it works. So you just get inside, make sure that is in the neutral position, not left or right. And then if you press here, the mirrors are supposed to fold inward, as you can see. That one folds, this one fails to fold. You press like that and it folds back outward. So that's one other thing to test, make sure it works. And yeah, so pretty much that's those are the major failure items to watch out for. And remember, I have this open. Always check on your test drive to make sure the power steering works very well and the brakes work also very well. It has a weird system called the Hydro Boost, and that's what actuates the brakes. Mine is kind of faulty, but that's the Hydro Boost system here behind the master, the brake cylinder right there. So it's one system. It uses power steering fluid to assist the brake and the power steering. And if that system goes out, you lose your power steering, you lose your brake. And remember also that this vehicle is very tall and wide. So minor things like maybe changing your spark plugs, checking your oil, power steering fluid is going to be quite a challenge. You might need a stool or a ramp to stand on while you reach inside the vehicle and check those items. So those are the main things I can think of about the Hummer, in case you are in the market and looking for one. So let me know in the comments if there's anything major I might have forgotten. I'm pretty sure there's quite a bit more that you could check. Oh, I almost forgot this important item. There's also the studs for the exhaust system, the manifold. It's hiding behind here, but you should verify those studs by all means, because they are known to fail. And when they fail, then you have like a ticking sound when you first start your vehicle until the vehicle warms up, and then you have a good seal. But always check that. Make sure you don't have any issues with the exhaust manifold. Other things to check also are the coolant lines that go to the radiator for the transmission. There's a little radiator right there. So you check those lines, make sure they're not leaking. That's another common failure item. So with all of that covered, I think pretty much basic maintenance, this is a very reliable vehicle and a very good platform on which to build your off-road, rock climber or whatever you have. Anyways, thanks for watching, and I'll catch you guys in the next video. Bye.